Let's talk about a fascinating new idea in cancer treatment. What if the next big breakthrough isn't some brand new weapon, but a way to make the weapons we already have just way more powerful? Today, we're diving into VSPharmTech, a company that's pioneering exactly that strategy, amplifying our attack on cancer when it's most vulnerable.
Okay, so we're all familiar with radiation therapy, right? It's been a cornerstone in oncology for decades. It's this powerful, high-energy assault designed to just shatter the DNA of cancer cells. It's an amazing tool, but it's always faced this one fundamental challenge.
And this is the million-dollar question. We're pretty good at damaging cancer cells. The problem is, they have this incredible and frankly frustrating ability to recover. So what if we could actually take that ability away? What if we could stop cancer from healing itself?
To really get what's happening here, you have to understand cancer's #1 survival tactic, its ability to repair its own DNA. It's this built-in defense mechanism that, honestly, makes our best treatments a lot less effective than they could be. Think of it like this. Radiation comes in and just bombards the cancer cell. It creates chaos, it breaks its DNA. But then, almost immediately, this biological repair crew shows up and gets to work, patching everything up. And that resilience is exactly what allows the tumor to survive the attack and, way too often, start to regrow.
All right, so that's the problem, and this is where VSPharmTech comes into the picture. Instead of trying to build yet another weapon to throw at the problem, their whole strategy is to just amplify the weapons we already have.
They actually call it an anti-cancer effect amplifier. So the goal isn't to replace anything, it's to reinforce it, to basically supercharge treatments like radiation so that the damage they cause is decisive and permanent.
So the company's lead drug candidate is called VS101, and it's designed to be what's called an apoptosis enhancer. Now, apoptosis, that's a fancy scientific term, but all it really means is programmed cell death. It's the body's natural way of telling damaged cells, hey, your time is up. VS101 just takes away the cancer cell's ability to ignore that message.
So, how does it actually do that? Let's get into the science and see how VS101 literally disarms that repair crew at the molecular level. The key concept here is something called the DNA damage response, or DDR. That's the official name for that repair crew we've been talking about. In our healthy cells, it's a vital process, but cancer hijacks it and turns this protective mechanism into a powerful shield against our best treatments.
Now, to understand the strategy, you need to know that radiation causes two main types of DNA damage. First, you've got single-strand breaks, or SSBs. These are really common, but they're a bit easier for the cell to fix. Then you have the double-strand breaks, or DSBs. These are much rarer, but they are way more lethal to the cell.
And this is where the design of VS101 is just brilliant. It tackles both problems at the exact same time. It blocks a protein called PARP, that's the main repairman for all those common single-strand breaks, and simultaneously, it blocks another protein, RAD51, which is the expert at fixing those super lethal double-strand breaks. It's a true dual-action attack. It all breaks down into a really simple but devastating 1-2 punch. Step 1, radiation attacks, creating thousands of these DNA breaks. Step 2, VS101 comes in and completely blocks the repair crews. The result, Step 3, the cancer cell is just overwhelmed with damage it can't fix, and it's forced to self-destruct.
Okay, so the theory sounds incredible, right? But the real question is, does it actually work in patients? Well, let's take a look at the clinical data.
100%. In the early trials that combined VS101 with radiation, this was the number that just made everyone stop and pay attention. It's a remarkable, almost unheard-of figure in the world of oncology.
So what does that 100% mean? It's the objective response rate, and it means that every single patient in this trial saw a measurable reduction in their tumors. Every single one. But look at the other numbers, because they might be just as important. 0 cases of dose-limiting toxicity and 0 serious adverse events. This data points to a treatment that is not only incredibly effective, but also remarkably safe.
And this idea is backed up by a direct note from the clinical trial itself, which found that most of the side effects that did show up were probably unrelated to the drug. I mean, that is a powerful statement about how well this treatment is tolerated.
So, a breakthrough in the lab is one thing, but getting it to patients all over the world, that's a whole different challenge. Let's look at how VSPharmTech is building momentum to take this thing from a clinical trial to the global market.
Well, that scientific promise is definitely translating into financial confidence.
You can see it right here. The company's valuation has seen some explosive growth, jumping from about 29.5 billion Korean won in 2022 to a projected 46.5 billion by 2025. That is a crystal clear sign of some very strong investor belief.
And, it's not just financial investors who are taking notice. VSPharmTech is already in talks and has signed non-disclosure agreements with some of the biggest names in pharmaceuticals. We're talking about giants like Johnson & Johnson and Merck. That is a massive vote of confidence from the industry itself.
And they are not slowing down. The company has a really clear and aggressive roadmap for what's next. They're shooting for FDA approval for phase 2 trials in really aggressive brain cancers like glioblastoma in 2025. They're planning an IPO in 2026 and then completing more trials in 2027. They're moving fast.
So this all brings us back to this final, really powerful idea. VSPharmTech's approach. It suggests that the next great leap forward in oncology might not be a new magic bullet after all. It might just be a way to make our existing arsenal dramatically better. Which leaves you with the question, could simply amplifying our treatments be the key to a whole new era in the fight against cancer?